morning. It is Monday, July 8th. It is 7:30. I am running so late for this breakfast that Guide Dogs for the Blind is doing right now. So after that breakfast, I will be at the general session, and then I'm going to the Strong Museum of Play. There's a lot of traffic noise. After the general session and the tour, I'm going to a party tonight being put on by Ira for guests and explorers, so that should be pretty fun.
Thank you very much. I want to just say, first of all, I'm joined here on stage by Dianna, who is the leader of our back to school program at Ira. So you told me if I may say a word or two, but I will also tell you she is leading Ira's team here at ACB exhibits and all other things, so I'd love you to just get Dianna. So last year we did indeed give the scholarships, the Ira program to the student scholarships. Heard from many students of all the great things they were doing. One who had inaccessible form, surprise, surprise, to fill out in order to get a job on campus. That was done successfully. Another one who had an inaccessible math class, again, surprise, was able to use Ira to do that. Of course, all students using Ira to find unfamiliar locations. Some of you may be done here, or involved in I'll get out of the way and just say once again, it's our honor and our pleasure to partner with ACB and to offer our Ira Back to School scholarship program to the ACB student scholars. Congratulations to all of you, and we're thrilled that we're able to provide Ira to you once again for this coming school year.
Okay, we are, I'm still learning how to do this. We're at the Strong Museum of Play. There's this horse thing in front of me, and we're waiting to go inside. This horse, it's white, and it has a bunch of different stars and swirls on it in different colors, and it looks like it's on a skateboard, and it has some sort of purple thing on top of it with like a yellow star or something. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, but it's really neat. It's very interesting. Right outside of the...
Are you enough to take a picture of it?
Yes, I am.
Carousel called the Elaine Wills Carousel.
100-year-old carousel.
Alan Herschel Company around 1918, and it is our second largest artifact. Above you guys, and to your right, the atrium is center. Around it, there are glass windows abutting a bunch of natural light, giving a very nice, warm, and inviting welcome to the museum. The exact atmosphere we like to have throughout the museum. As we are walking through, to your left, we have the Everyday for Play giving us.
This is the Sky Diner. It's a train car that was converted into a diner on the inside of the museum. We're in one of the function rooms in the hotel, or in the museum.
All right, everyone. Once again,
Taco
good
Bell, Pizza
afternoon.
Hut,
Welcome
and
to the
an
Strong
ice cream
Museum.
shop and
We're
Subway,
sitting
and
in
some fun
the lunchroom that
toasters.
you guys will be eating in today. You will be getting catering from Bill Gray's, which would be pretty fun. I want to talk a little bit about your day-to-day. So we are going to start with getting some lunch for you guys, and then we will split into two groups, group 1 and group 2. After you guys are finished with lunch, we are just going to put some wristbands on you, just which we use for everyone in our museum to denote who is in the museum and who is not. So after you guys get that wristbands, one group will go meet our Director of Live Collections, Anna Simpson, with a nice talk about our butterfly garden. It'll be a nice, warm, tropical environment. So I know it's hot outside, but you're going to get a nice little tropical feel in there. She does have some butterfly wings that you guys should be able to feel, which will be a pretty unique experience.
Can we eat the butterfly wings?
No, you cannot. Thank you for asking before doing though. Thank you very much. The other group will be getting a talk about some of our unique collections pieces, along with a few hands-on experiences that will be with our Vice President for Collections, Chris Bench. After you guys are done with that, we will switch the groups, so the other groups will get to experience the other things. And then we're going to have a little bit of a guided experience. So we'll bring you around the museum and we'll kind of play it by ear. Whatever you guys are wanting to do, we'll bring you there and we'll see some of our great exhibit and collections pieces today. today.
Alright, we just got a little goodie bag. This basically just included a release form to sign. I have it flipped over so you can't see it for photo purposes. But what was actually included is a little tiny Ziploc baggie that includes 5 tokens and a ticket to ride on either the train or the carousel. Okay, so this is lunch. I just got a burger. There's some crinkle cut fries. We all got bottles of water. Some other people got vegetarian meals. Some people got sausage or something. I don't know, but it should be good. We're in front of a bunch of display cases about Snoopy passing by Field of Play, which is like a science lab. Whoa! We're having story time with a dinosaur in the atrium. On the right, there's like a giant stained glass window that we're passing by. It's all pinks and greens. It's really pretty.
Left a little bit, everybody.
My name is Chris Bench. My title is Vice President for Collections, so I oversee the museum's objects, our conservation lab, our research library and archives, and that comes to about 500,000 items for us all to look after, a dozen of us. But one of my favorite things is not only to be on TV, which is fun, although it can be really boring while you wait for the camera to get set up, but I would rather talk to people live where we can interact in the experience. And I am here with a few objects that I'm going to pass around the room for you to have some hands-on experiences with while I tell some history about them, and a chance for you to have a little more background information about the Strong Museum and its collections. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is the oldest thing that I brought with me today. It's a doll from about 1880. So think of it as about 140 years old.
Wow.
It's a doll with china head and hands and legs. It came from Germany. It's really valuable for us to remember that even 140 years ago, the toy industry was a global one. People living in the United States got their toys from companies that made them all over the world. And especially for dolls, the best dolls came from England, I should say from France and Germany. Those were the very finest dolls that you could get. And our founder, Margaret Strong, was a great lover of dolls. Wow. She had about 15,000 of dolls in her collection at the time that she died in 1969. And we've continued to build on her collection.
I have a question about the doll.
Yes, absolutely.
So my question is, if this doll is so fragile, how can children play with them? Because they might drop it, you find it, it will crack.
It's amazing.
This is a doll from maybe 10 years ago. If I tell you that she loves accessories and cars and horses and boyfriends,
Barbie.
Guess who we're talking about? Absolutely.
Care Bears.
So the Barbie I am handing around to you is a Rapunzel Barbie.
Ooh.
So what has she got a lot of?
Hair.
Yes.
Is that from Tangled?
It is about the same time that Tangled came out. And
Nice.
you mentioned one of my favorite movies. But Barbie
Good movie.
always sells better the more hair she has.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that Mattel has found over the years.
Well, because everybody likes to style her hair.
Everyone likes to style her hair.
I never heard
But the other thing I'm going
had
to
that a
talk
lot
to
when
you
I was
about
little. I
is
didn't
Barbie
really know.
has kind of a shady past that you may not be aware of. Because Barbie didn't start out as a doll for little American girls. Her roots are as a cartoon designed for German men in a newspaper called Bild. And there's a character
That's
called
frightening.
Bild Lily. She was kind of a gold digger who was always looking to
literally
have
looks like
a
Rapunzel.
sugar daddy keep her in mink and champagne. She had
Yeah,
the
she
same
really
sort
does
of
look like
dimensions
Rapunzel.
as the Playboy bunny because she was a creation of the same time period in the 1950s.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I just want to mention, if people have Netflix, there's a documentary, I think the Toys That Made Us.
Toys That Made Us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please, it's wonderful. It has 6 things. Just want
Although
to say
I
that.
have a little resentment because they interviewed me for several hours and then never used
What?
me on TV. So I'm just a little cranky about that. I will not hold that against them, and I also recommend that people check that out.
I think there was also a documentary, I can't remember if it's on Netflix or Hulu, but it's about Barbie
Okay.
and like the women who work at Mattel in
Oh.
relation to marketing her.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm giving you the condensed version of what Toys That Made Us went into longer detail. So Build Lily was turned into a doll, and that doll was not designed for little girls. It was sold at tobacco stores so that guys could buy a gag gift for their friends. And maybe they said something like, well, I got you a little woman, and things like that. And
Okay.
if you have ever thought that Barbie was not the perfect role model, remember that Build Lily originally came with a trapeze and a black satin negligee. So she was a little racy. However, it was that doll that Ruth Handler, one of the founders of Mattel, saw, and she thought it was a great idea because she and her daughter, who coincidentally was named Barbara, had always wanted grown-up dolls, not a friend doll, not a baby doll, a doll that represented how you might feel and behave when you were grown up. And she basically reproduced Build Lily, rebranded her as Barbie. She came out in 1959. Let's all celebrate Barbie's 60th birthday this year. So she fully qualifies for her AARP card. She looks better than most AARP members, I have to say.
So we're going to have Grandma Barbie now?
Well, she certainly can qualify for that. So Barbie, as with the other toys I'm going to talk about, is a member of the toys that have been inducted into our National Toy Hall of Fame.
Huh.
How many of you knew about the National Toy Hall of Fame before coming to the Strong? Okay, you get extra stars from me, stickers, whatever you want. For the rest of you, the National Toy Hall of Fame hasn't been around as long as the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not quite as big as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I'd contend it's at least as important, if not more important, than either of those, because a limited number of people care about baseball, and well, I'm seeing unhappy looks from one of my colleagues who is a huge baseball fan. But not everyone feels strongly about baseball, and not everyone feels strongly about rock and roll, but all of us are united by having been kids, by having played with toys, and the 68 toys that are in the National Toy Hall of Fame are ones that we feel have stood the test of time, represent toys that everyone would have some experience with. Whether you owned one or not, you probably know what a teddy bear is, or a hula hoop, or a Monopoly board. All of those are in the Hall of Fame. So my next 2 items that I brought with you, and in this case, I thought ahead, and I've got enough for both of our rows, are 2 special kinds of goo that are in the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
That's a special curatorial term that
Goo.
and I promise I am not handing out the bubble gum that I chewed on earlier.
Oh, Silly Putty. I had that when I was little.
Meant to be a toy at all.
Really?
Silly Putty was a product of the World War II era, when the rubber plantations of Southeast Asia were cut off by the Japanese invasion, and people needed an alternative to rubber. So chemists were looking for something that would make tires, that would make bouncy balls, would make all sorts of other things, and this was something that they came up with out of their test tubes. It was great, it was bouncier than rubber, It stretched further than some other things. It made really crummy tires because it shattered when it froze.
Right.
So in Rochester, New York, you would not want snow tires made out of silly putty.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Well, it's all in the marketing for it. Silly putty was a gag thing that the chemists took around to different parties for grown-ups. And they basically just laughed at it and said, isn't this funny? Along the way, I'm imagining someone found out that wonderful property that Silly Putty used to have where it would lift the pictures out of your comic books or your comic strips and let you stretch Brenda Starr or Batman into all kinds of weird shapes. I have to tell you, sadly, with the change in inks, Silly Putty no longer does that these days. Inks are stickier to paper. But a couple at one of these parties saw this goo and said, you know, this is a cool item. What if we put it in little plastic eggs and we market it for the Easter season? It was a hit. It's sold as a novelty, but it was something that people continued to like, and it remains on the market right down to the present. Play-Doh. All right, my lids are being problematic here, so I'm getting those off. All right, Play-Doh was wallpaper cleaner.
Yes.
Huh.
Wallpaper cleaning is something that I don't include as part of my housekeeping. But in the days when you had kerosene lamps and coal-burning stoves and coal-burning furnaces, your wallpaper got all gummed up with soot. And rather than rehanging wallpaper, which was expensive and a really troublesome project, people
smell
used
that
this
Play-Doh has.
white
They
goo that
sent it
came
now.
in gallon cans, like a paint can,
Well, they do.
and they
Interesting.
wadded it down the
Smell like
wall,
chocolate?
and it picked up the soot off the
No,
wall,
it just says Play-Doh
and then
everything.
let you have
very yellow.
clean wallpaper afterwards.
Wow.
But the family that owned the company that made the wallpaper cleaner, that was called Cut All Wallpaper, saw the handwriting on the wall, so to speak, in the 1950s, when pretty soon people weren't going to need their product anymore. What were they going to do? They were going to be out of luck. So one of their family members, fortunately, was a school teacher, and she said, I've got to tell you, the modeling clay that we have for art class is really terrible. It's hard, it doesn't mold well. What if you turn wallpaper cleaner into modeling clay? So they downsized it to smaller cans after initially selling it in gallon cans to schools and school districts. A smaller version then became perfect for the home market. It came in 3 colors originally. They originally were going to call it rainbow modeling clay, and instead they rebranded it as Play-Doh. And Play-Doh has been in people's carpet and car upholstery as well as, I have to say, I saw lots of you sniffing it. I didn't see any of you eating it.
No, thank you.
Practically every American child has consumed some Play-Doh at some point in their
My
life.
3-year-old nephew will do it.
All right.
I mean, not knowing that it was.
There's a very particular aroma to Play-Doh.
Yep.
And in fact, when Play-Doh celebrated its 50th anniversary, we have bottles of Play-Doh perfume.
Oh, no.
And smell like a giant walking can of Play-Doh.
I don't think so.
I only have one of him. And if I say his children are named Spud and Yam, you know what I'm talking about? Mr. Potato Head.
Yep.
That's right. I have a fairly recent Mr. Potato Head here. Now, he wasn't going to be a commercial toy at all either. He was going to be a premium in the bottom of your cereal box. What you were going to find at the bottom of the cornflakes was actually going to be just nose, eyes, mouth, all the parts for your potato, but not the potato. And the folks at Hassenfeld Brothers Toy Company, we know them better by their compacted name, which is now Hasbro. That's right. They said this is way too good to give away in cereal. Let's buy the rights to this product and let's market it as Mr. Potato Head. Now, initially, in the late 1940s, they had an internal debate over what sort of fruit or vegetable they should use. Because this is just after World War II, when there was food rationing, and people were a little concerned about wasting food. But their thought was potatoes are available year-round. They're relatively inexpensive. The first Mr. Potato Head
You can still open his back and put his parts in there.
No plastic potato. Now, I like to cook, and I cook some things that are good and some things that are not so great. But I have to tell you, there is nothing as foul and smelly in my kitchen as the rotting potato that I find in the back of the potato head.
Oh, no joke.
So it's my understanding that parents were finding punctured and festering potatoes around their children's rooms, of course tucked into the underwear drawer or stuffed under the bed. And it wasn't too many years before Hasbro was producing plastic potatoes as part of their potato head sets. Mr. Potato Head has been in all of the Toy Story movies.
Yep.
I haven't seen Toy Story 4 that just came out. I'm hoping he is in that as well.
I think he is.
Movie star toy in our National Toy Hall of Fame. He gave up his pipe a number of years ago as part of the Great American
I remember the
Smokeout.
pipe.
He was a pipe smoker in his earliest days, but again, he remains a classic plaything for kids of all ages.
Am I able to ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm curious, when the first Toy Story came out, was there a resurgence in some of like Mr. Potato Head?
There was. They really had a resurgence. In fact, you tied into the next toy I'm going to hand around, and because you asked that interesting question, I'm going to start it with you. So, ready? Can you tell everyone else what it is?
A Slinky! What are we doing? We're seeing you and
I don't know what we're doing.
Really helped cause the resurgence of Slinky. Slinkies were always classic. They were on the market since the late 1940s, but they had sort of dropped. Slinky, like Play-Doh, like Silly Putty, was not meant to be a toy. It was going to be a cushioning device for naval instruments aboard ships. And it did a terribly crummy job of that. So it was just sitting basically on its inventor Richard James' desk when he knocked it off one day, and what did it do? It walked. Yes. And he said to his wife, Betty, I think we've got a toy here. He challenged her to come up with a name for it. She went through the dictionary, especially concentrating on the S's, and came up with Slinky, and they started marketing it. Well, it basically looked like an escapee from your inner spring mattress, and they were charging $1 for it, which was a lot of money in the late 1940s, and they were selling terribly. They were packaged in tissue paper. They were just really not going over
Why would they be
well.
packaged in tissue
Until
paper?
one day, Richard James was doing a demonstration at the toy department of Gimbel's department store in Philadelphia, and he asked his wife to bring a friend and come be the shills. They were going to be his partners in crime, and they were going to stand at the back of the group and say, I want one, I've got to have one. Well, lo and behold, Betty and her friend got to the top of the escalator, and they couldn't make their way through the crowd. What had changed? Well, it was all because Richard had created slinky steps so that the Slinkies were walking down them.
There you go.
Slinkies can step down really well, but they can't step out very far. So most of our home stairs are too deep for them to walk down really well. So they prefer really kind of shallow front to back steps. Now, I have to tell you that success went to Richard James' Head, and he found another woman. He dropped his wife, left his 8 children, ran off to Central America with his new love, joined a cult, and was never seen or heard again. What is Betty, his wife, to do? It's the 1950s.
Junior.
Should she sell the company? Should she run it herself? She chose the gutsy move to run the company herself.
Good for her.
And she became one of the great women of the toy world. She is an inductee to the Toy Industry Hall of Fame that celebrates the people who made classic and great toys right down to the present. And she worked as the head of Slinky into her 90s.
Oh my
So
Wow.
she's a fantastic woman and a role model for all of us. So if your spouses run off to Central America, keep Betty James in mind.
Then they messed it up and made it in plastic, which was no fun.
That was terrible.
It
I
was.
agree. A plastic Slinky is not worth anything.
No.
It's got to be metal.
Yeah.
When did yo-yos come out?
Ah, okay. You are feeding into all my topics. Yo-yos, though, were introduced to the U.S. in the 1920s, but we're most familiar with the ones that were so successful from the company Duncan. And it's Duncan yo-yos that have been inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame. These are not Duncan yo-yos, these are mere Target yo-yos that I'm handing out.
That's fine.
They basically do the same thing.
Here's the yo-yo. It's red.
And he made the
Has the
letters
target
real
symbol on
big
it.
and
I'm just never
exaggerated.
good at playing with the yo-yo. Hey guys, it's me from the future. I am home. Again, I am going to split these videos into either 2 or 3 parts just because they're really long, at least this day. So this is part 1, as you may have noticed from the title. Part 2 will be the things that we did after meeting with the curator. So doing the butterfly garden, walking through the museum, time on our own, stuff like that, the gift shop, everything. Again, if that is too long, then I'll make it into a part 3. But for now, just count on 2 videos. I filmed a lot on this day because there was a lot happening. So yeah. Anyway, if you like this video, I can't tell you what to do. But I'll see you next time. Bye.